This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
When it comes to agentic AI, I know that a lot of the buzz right now is around OpenClaw, Claude Cowork, and even Codex and its new sub-agents. But there's a pretty big player in the game that low-key put out a very useful product. It's free, it works, and it's really, really good. And maybe it's because of the name that it's not getting a lot of attention because it can do a lot more than tasks. What am I talking about? It's Microsoft Copilot Tasks. It's a new, what I think, underrated agentic feature from Microsoft that could maybe even shake up this whole co-working agentic landscape if they actually continue to develop this thing and maybe eventually roll it out to more users. So let's get straight into it and talk about the big picture here. So Copilot Tasks lets you describe a goal in natural language and then have Copilot go plan and execute the steps to complete it. Right now, unfortunately, it's only available on Microsoft Copilot Online, not the Microsoft 365 Copilot that most enterprise companies use. So it's available on the online version, not the desktop version, but it is free. It's easy to use. And I would say right now, it's a simpler alternative to a lot of the very popular and trending AI product categories like Claude Cowork, Perplexity Computer, and even OpenClaw. So stick with me for today's Putting AI to Work on Wednesday's show. And here's what we're going to go over and what you're going to leave with. I'm going to show you how to use Copilot Tasks and get your first task up and running in minutes. I'm going to walk you through the key features that I think Microsoft is really actually underselling. And in the end, I'm going to show you 3 reasons why I think everyone should be using Copilot Tasks. All right, you ready to put AI to work this Wednesday? Me too. Let's jump in. Welcome. If you're new here, my name's Jordan, and this is Everyday AI. It's an unedited, unscripted, daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter helping everyday business leaders like you and me not just keep up with all that's happening in the world of AI, because there's way too much, but I help you understand what actually matters and how you can put it to use to grow your company and your career. So starts here, but for the cheat code, that's our website, youreverydayai.com. There you can go sign up for the free daily newsletter. We're going to be recapping today's show and all of the other AI developments in our newsletter that you need to know to stay ahead. All right. I don't know why no one's talking about Microsoft Copilot Tasks. So we're going to go hands-on with the powerful AI platform that I don't think anyone's really talking about. I mean, literally, sometimes before I do a show, I'll just see, who's talking about this on, YouTube or LinkedIn or just on the internet at large. And there's like nothing out there, which I don't understand. This is like one of the largest companies in the world. And this is their first free agentic product that anyone can go use, yet no one's using it. I think maybe it's because they originally rolled it out to a wait list, and then they open it up to everyone on the wait list. But I think pretty much anyone can go up and sign up for a free account right now. So I don't know how long this is going to be free. I don't know if, this was rolled out as a beta. So go check it out yourself. I got access pretty quickly. So let's start live. We're going to do this one a little different. All right. So live stream audience, help me out. Let me know if you can see my screen here. So we are now in the just Microsoft Copilot Online. So I'm going to get a task here started, and I'm going to read for our podcast audience what's going on. So these Wednesday shows, right? Once a week, we go hands-on and in-depth with one AI product release or feature. And I usually have you guys vote for it. So overwhelmingly in our newsletter today, you guys wanted to know more about Copilot Tasks. So here's where we're going to start. We're going to let this thing work. And I'm going to check in on it as we go. And I have some other tasks that have already been completed, and we're going to take a live look. But if you are listening on the podcast and you want to see the visual side of this, I'm going to try my best to describe it. But you can always go to our website, youreverydayai.com, and we have the video versions there that you can go watch. So here's the kind of prompt that I'm working. I'm also going to give you a little secret, something I've been working on. All right. In this prompt, I'm saying I'm working on a product research for an app I'm building. Please research and run a competitive analysis on Mac Whisper, Whisper Flow, Cast Magic, and Tube on AI. Please include a comprehensive overview of these platforms, comparative and or cumulative looks at Google Trends, search volume, total reviews and average score on popular third-party sites, a deep dive on their respective ICPs, unique features and feature overlaps, as well as I doubled that one, unique features on each product. Make sure to include comparisons and up-to-date info from March 2026. Also, make sure to fill in the gaps with anything I may be missing. Take your time, then put all this information together in a presentation. All right, just what I said right there. I can assume, I want you first before we go any further. So I'm going to give you some examples of what I'm personally using this for, right? I always get like two crowds of people shouting to be like, Jordan, tell me how you use AI all the time. And I'm like, okay, here you go. And then I also have other people that are like, wait, why do you only show me what you use? Well, this is what I know, right? I'm not going to, show you how people are using something for market research in the logistics industry because I don't do that. I don't know that. But kind of take a look at what I'm doing here and apply it to your own situation. But I think this is a great use case, right? This task, if I was doing this without AI, or even if I was doing this, with ChatGPT or normal Copilot or Gemini, even this would probably be a multi-step process. But without AI, my gosh, 5 years ago, this would have taken easily. I mean, if I was locked in, I could have done this in, I don't know, 40 to 50 hours, right? Creating a full presentation. This is a lot of work. All right. So we're going to let Copilot Tasks kind of cook. And I'm going to show you a little bit more on what this does. All right. So now we're taking a quick look at the Copilot announcement. So I'm just going to read the first paragraph or two here, just so you kind of know what this is. So they say Copilot Tasks is designed for everyone, not just developers or enterprise. Starting today, we're launching a research preview to a small group of users so we can learn and refine with real world feedback. Over the coming weeks, we'll continue to add more people into the preview before our broad launch. So here's what Microsoft says that tasks can do. They said, as we've tested Copilot tasks in our everyday routines, a set of natural real-life use cases are starting to emerge. Recurring tasks, this is the big one. So yes, this platform can schedule things. All right, so it says, the example, every evening, surface urgent emails with draft replies ready to send and automatically unsubscribe from promotional mail I may never open. Track new apartment rental listings nearby every Friday and book showings. So yes, this can agentically click around websites and user interfaces. And then it says Monday mornings, compile a briefing on key meetings, travel, and analyze how I am spending my time versus priorities. So recurring tasks are huge. Also, document generation. It can create, documents. So, like Word doc, spreadsheets, and presentations. Kind of the big three that Claude and ChatGPT do very well out of the box as well. You can do those in Gemini as well with a little bit more workaround and a couple extra clicks. But that's something that Claude and ChatGPT do really well out of the box. But Copilot Tasks does this as well. Shopping, services, and appointments. So, whether some of those tasks you don't want to do, like if you want to find a top-rated plumber near you, or if you want to watch a used car listing 24/7 and book a test drive and contact the dealership, right? So the website has a lot of pretty good, examples of what you can do. So here's how Microsoft says it works. They say Copilot Tasks is a to-do list that does itself. You describe what you need in natural language. Copilot plans and goes to work. You adjust or refine as needed. Tasks work in the background with its own computer and browser. That's the important part. And I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on what you can do across various apps and services, and reports back to you when it's done. Tasks can be recurring, schedule, or run once based on your needs. Here's the branding piece here, all right, from Microsoft. They said it's not autopilot, it's a Copilot working with you, giving you control of the final decision. Tasks is designed to ask for consent before taking meaningful actions like spending money or sending a message on your behalf. You can review, pause, or cancel a task at any time. All right. So let's dive in and give a look. So I'm keeping an eye on the presentation that I asked it for, and it's already building the presentation, which is fairly impressive. All right, so we're going to take a look at that when it's done, but I do have some examples, and I'm going to go over some of the settings first. So one thing now, I am here on the user interface. So again, this is the online version only. So that's just copilot.microsoft.com. And then you're going to click the task pane on the left-hand side. So again, this is once you do get access, but I do believe that they're rolling this out to essentially everyone if you go sign up. All right. So one thing I didn't fully realize because, well, it's almost like one of those things that the user interface is maybe too clean. I didn't notice that you could actually scroll down from this main page. So it looks like just a splash landing page, and it gives you some actually really good examples, and then a prompt box. So this is, essentially you don't do the tasks in the normal chat box. You would click tasks, and then you can click the plus button to start a new task for you. There's also different modes. Right. So there's the auto mode that you can run complex tasks from start to finish. Researcher, you can create a report with deep, high quality research. Or analyst, you can turn your data into clear, actionable insights. So that's just more of, I believe, the mode that it uses. But I've done some testing on this. I've run different types of prompts in different kind of modes. So as an example, that really long one that I just ran and it's building right now, the competitive analysis, I ran it in auto. So I could have run it technically in researcher or maybe even analyst, even though I wasn't giving it data. There's probably a lot of data for it to go find. So I'm just doing these tests all in auto, FYI. All right. So on this main interface, what I was talking about, it's like, oh, you don't really know. You can like scroll kind of. Well, if you scroll, that's where you see all of your different upcoming tasks. So I've been doing some different testing with this. I have some scheduled tasks that I'll show you. But it's actually a nice interface once you kind of understand like, oh, I can scroll past this main kind of test prompt section. So it's a little confusing. So there's some example prompts, some for you prompts, which is really cool. Some productivity examples, money examples, home, social, career. This is actually really helpful. It's not like I ever struggle to come up with, ideas, but this was actually helpful, to better understand the capabilities of tasks. So, wow. All right. That one's already done. So it didn't take long. It took like 8 minutes or something like that. So we'll take a look at the one that I started with, that competitive analysis on the app that I'm building here in a minute, but I want to show you a couple other things first. So that's the interface. So it has the examples. You can click the examples. So I just click the, weekly stock summary to my email, and then it will write out the entire prompt for you. And then you can go change it as you want. So pretty simple. Click, gives you the prompt. You can hit enter and it goes to work. All right. A couple other things here. This is in settings. So one thing I can't really click on, but a preview for one of the 3 big reasons why you should use it is you can do these tasks by text message, which is great, right? This is one of the big reasons why I think, platforms like OpenClaw and Computer have gotten really popular. It's just, well, using the interface that you already use. All right. So you can do that in settings. I'm not going to click on it because then my phone number is going to be on the screen, and that would be absolutely terrible. But the connectors, it works with your connectors as well. So here are the connectors that it works with. So unfortunately, right now, it's read-only access for most of these. So it can search files in your Google Drive, can search and read events in your Google Calendar. It can search, read, and analyze messages in your Gmail inbox. And then Google Contacts, you can access your Google Contacts, as well as Microsoft OneDrive, search, read, and analyze files in your OneDrive, and then Microsoft Outlook. Search, read, and analyze messages and invites in your Outlook inbox and calendar. All right. So Those are all the different connectors they have. I have all of my Google connectors already connected. All right. So I do want to show you a couple features that I think are really cool. So these are some examples that I already had done. So I said, look at Google Trends, okay, and compare AI Studio versus Lovable. Then put together a comparison of each platform's latest updates through March 2026. Also, please find 5 similar tools to Google's AI Studio and Lovable. Lastly, put all this information together in a presentation. All right. So the good thing is, at any point, you can see the basics of how it went and completed your task. So always check, summarize, chain of thought, so you can see exactly what the model did. So in this case, right, I can see and look, it literally went to trends.google.com. It typed in Google AI Studio and typed in Lovable Dev, and it brought up those comparisons. One thing I wish that we could do here, which hopefully they'll add this, I like this in other platforms. The photo is kind of really small, but I can see it actually used a browser, and it actually went through Google Trends and it pulled this data, which is really nice. So I can go and look at each and every step, right? So it went to, blog.google.com. It went to, androidsage.com. So it went to all these different websites to find all this information. So I'm looking through each and every step that it went through. And then after, kind of doing some computer use, because it dynamically pulled in information from Google Trends, that's a live and dynamic database. Then it went out, it did a couple agentic pulls from the web, different websites, and then it put together the actual slideshow here. So it put together a deck, 11, looks like 11 slides. And here's the thing that I absolutely love. So it gives you a nice platform overview just in text. It made me a chart, but then here's the actual presentation. Now, here's what I love. And one of the things I think Microsoft is underselling, because looking at their marketing, I didn't even see them mention this. I actually found this by accident, and it's a pretty big feature. So they do have some of these capabilities in their other, Copilot visual platforms. I think they have this in Designer and maybe a couple other things. But so on my screen now, I have this presentation that it put together. I can drag it to make it a little bigger, which I'm doing right now on my screen. But it's actually a pretty decent looking slide deck, FYI, right? Like, not to knock on PowerPoint, but I'm like, it looks better than what I probably would have gotten out of PowerPoint if I was using Copilot. So I'm like, first of all, how the heck am I getting something better out of, this brand new Copilot task platform that I would get if I used their enterprise product like PowerPoint and using Copilot? So first of all, I'm like scratching my head, like visually, how is this slide so good? Number one. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Number two, this is all editable, right? So I can go in manually, right? So I'm clicking like Google AI Studio and then Lovable, so let's say I wanted to call it Lovable Agent, right? Even though it's not. But I can just literally click on the slide and I'm typing, all right? This is extremely impressive. I can click things at any point. So here's the other great thing. Let me go down to this slide here. So it brought in the correct information from Google Trends. All right. So all I need to do is click on something. And then you'll see in the prompt box on the left-hand side. So I have my presentation on the right-hand side. And anytime I click on something, 3 things technically change. Number one, the prompt box on the left-hand side now shows me that I have selected an image. And then at the same time, it brought up the researcher kind of mode. And then at the top, there's 2 new buttons above the slide. One says preview, and I can look at the code or preview. And then the other one says AI edits. So there's some default things I can click. I can fix the layout or polish the content. All right. So I'm actually going to do that in the slide above. I'm just going to click polish content, right? So if you don't like how one of these slides turns out, you literally just have to click polish content, and it's going to give you hopefully a better version of that one. All right. So while that one cooks there, I'm going to go down and, I can't do two things at once. Unfortunately, I didn't test that out. So we're working on an approach here. It says putting together a plan, figuring out the steps, right? So I have to stall here for 90 seconds. Love doing live demos of generative AI. Oh no, I don't have to stall anymore. It's almost done. So I'm seeing it, which is really cool. I'm seeing it rebuild this slide live, which is actually fascinating to watch, right? Literally icon by icon, bullet point by bullet point. Pretty cool. I'm wondering if it's going to have to resize one of these columns here because it looks like it went over, maybe it went over the halfway point. Let's see if it's going to do that or not. Oh, just did. Bam, fast. All right. Actually, this slide does look a little bit better. It's not a ton different. So there we go. It redid the Google AI Studio slide on the left-hand side. AI moves too fast to follow, but you're expected to keep up. Otherwise, your career or company might lag behind while AI native competitors leap ahead. But you don't have 10 hours a day to understand it all. That's what I do for you. But after 700 plus episodes of Everyday AI, the most common questions I get is, where do I start? That's why we created the Start Here series, an ongoing podcast series of more than a dozen episodes you can listen to in order. It covers the AI basics for beginners and sharpens the skills of AI champions pushing their companies forward. In the ongoing series, we explain complex trends in simple language that you can turn into action. There's 3 ways to jump in. Number 1, go scroll back to the first one in episode 691. Number 2, tap the link in your show notes at any time for the Start Here series, or you can just go to starthereseries.com, which also gives you free access to our Inner Circle community where you can connect with other business leaders doing the same. The Start Here series will slow down the pace of AI so you can get ahead. Wow. Okay. So very, very nice. It's done. It did polish it up a little bit, not a ton different from the first one. But here's one of the cool features that, again, some things Microsoft just didn't even talk about. All right. So now I'm going back to the Google Trends data here. So for our podcast audience, it's a nice looking trend line. It pulled it from Google Trends. It's accurate. So all I'm going to say, I'm going to click on it and then I can go over to the prompt box and I'm going to say, turn the Google AI Studio line green and the lovable line yellow, right? Y'all, conversational editing, right? So not only can you kind of create and do your task with natural language. You don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to know development. You don't have to be an analyst or researcher, any of this. You just have to, number 1, know what you want, be able to convey that in natural language. You have to be a smart expert driving the loop. You have to understand and look at the chain of thought and command it, make sure it's doing all the right actions that you want. But the thing that I love is when you see something you don't like, when you see something that maybe should be improved. I mean, just this experience right here, right? I don't think it's on the Notebook LM level yet, but the ability to create good looking slides, good looking documents, and being able to make click-based edits, this is really, really good, right? Like I said, like I'm not getting anything like this even in PowerPoint, which kind of baffles me, right? Like how's this brand new technology outshining its big brother key partner? All right, so interesting. So not only did it make the slide a little bit better by changing the color, but it also just made it a little bit better visually, clean up the design a little bit as well. So there you go. Wow. All right, let's look at the next couple different examples. So here's another one I thought was pretty impressive. So this is a scheduled task. So let me go back to my tasks here, and I'm going to find this scheduled one and show you exactly what it does. So one thing it can be good or bad. It just depends on kind of your skills and how much work that you're putting into a conversation here. Um, Copilot Tasks can change your kind of prompt that you give it, right? Which is very normal, FYI. Like most, especially for scheduled actions, most kind of platforms do this. But if you go into your scheduled tasks and then you click on something, all right, so I did a daily email recap test. And all I did in my prompt was I said, recap my most important emails. And it went and it made the prompt much longer. It says search the user's Gmail inbox for recent emails from today that may need a response, right? And then it's saying what tool call to use the search email with Gmail to receive recent emails, right? Blah, blah, blah. All right, so here's the one that I wanted to show, the daily AI newsletter research and email. So in this case, it probably improved my prompt, right? Because I did something basic, but I did tell it to review the last 3 newsletters at read.youreverydayai.com. All right. And I did say if there's an exit intent pop up, just ignore it. I said, look at the last 3 newsletters, see what happened in our bite-sized news and fresh find section. And then I gave it types of AI news to search for that's 24 hours old or less, and then draft it all together in an email and then, run that every single day. Right. So then one thing I would love to see, there's a start now button, but I wanted to be able to just go to that exact prompt. Anyways, it did a really good job, right? So here I am looking at the results. It's, gave me 12 of these fresh finds, and then it gave me 12 examples of bite-sized news items and then I can click. It made a draft email at the bottom, and then I just click open, and then all of those things are in there. So it actually creates this kind of, I guess Outlook-esque, email editor right inside of Copilot Tasks. So unfortunately, like I kind of talked about earlier, it doesn't send emails, right? Which is maybe a good or a bad thing. It just kind of drafts them. But then from here, I don't have to do anything else. Literally, I click send, and that's it. Because I have my my connector already connected, that's it. I go in there, I look at it, I click send. So think of all those, manual research things that you do. It can read your documents, right? So let's just say your team works in Google Drive, and one of your big responsibilities every day is to, go through, look at some files, some Google Docs that were uploaded, some spreadsheet updates. You have to look at things that are new in there, go do some research, filter it through your position, your company, your, personal expertise, and then, create a new document or, email some colleagues about some findings that you found, right? This is all now automated. You can do all of these things automatically, right? Which is really cool. All right, let's roll through a couple other very quick examples. Creating spreadsheets. Here I just did a random example. I said, find the 20 most populous cities, put them in a spreadsheet with their population, the official city website. And then for fun, I did the different pro sports teams. So very quickly put together all that. One other thing I like is there's a sources button up here. So in the document creation section, it is more interactive than what you might typically see. Because like I said, there's a sources button up here. So you can actually see where it pulled all of this information from. So did a good job. It was accurate, right? Got my Bulls, Bears, Cubs, White Sox, and Blackhawks, right? Here's another one that I thought did a really good job. I said, in this one, I actually did from my phone, right? I just texted myself this, or not texted myself, I texted Copilot. So when you do verify your kind of SMS, your phone, then it just saves it. And then I just put the name Copilot and I just dictated this. And I said, can you go to my website at youreverydayai.com and find the last 3 episodes of the Start Here series and do a quick recap of those 3 episodes and put them all in a presentation. And then can you email that presentation to info@youreverydayai.com? So it put together all of the really pretty, again, design-wise, I was surprised, how well this did out of the box. So it put together a nice, looks like a 12-page, presentation here. I can go look at the sources and see it only brought in, our website, our content, so that's good. Put together a nice presentation, the email draft, the presentation here, right? There's also a present feature in there. There's version history, being able to see all the sources, downloading this as a PowerPoint or saving it to your OneDrive directly in one click. So very impressive. All right, last thing here. Let's just go look at the results here as we wrap up our this week's edition of AI at Work on Wednesday. So let's see how good of a job. So to remind you, we started this out. We did it live. All right. I'm just kind of scrolling through here. Looks like it did a pretty decent job. All right. So again, I said I'm working on product research for an app I'm building. Please research and run a competitive analysis on Mac Whisper, Whisper Flow, Cast Magic, and Tube on AI. Please include a comprehensive overview of these platforms, comparative and cumulative looks at Google Trends search volume, reviews, average score on popular third-party sites, a deep dive, right? All these things I asked for. So not only I can go through, I can obviously look at all the different research that it did. It did a pretty good amount here, right? As an example, I'm looking at some of these websites. I went to Getlotka, great resource, Crunchbase, LinkedIn, so it went to Google Trends, Slashdot. So a lot of good resources here. And then it also gave me a nice text-based kind of overview, very high level. But then it obviously gave me the kind of PowerPoint presentation that it prepared. By default, a lot of the, presentations are kind of repetitive. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, because like I showed you, with a little bit of editing, you can change them. Also with a little bit on the, stylistically, I could guide it on the front end, say, hey, use, these color codes. I probably could have uploaded a photo of one of my other slides and said, try to model it a little bit like this. But by default, it does seem to use kind of repetitive designs. But again, if you give it some guidance, I'm sure that's not going to be an issue. But at least the designs are super clean by default. So it gave me an executive summary here. Here's some information on Whisper Flow, market positioning map, SWOT snapshot, and white space. That's really cool. Mac Whisper breakdown, Tube on AI, Cast Magic. Oh, geez, this is very impressive. It created a full feature comparison matrix. So it looks like, how many things do we have here? It looks like we have like about 15 or so main features. And then it shows me which platforms have it. And I do use a lot of these platforms. I'm kind of looking at them as we go. Yeah, this is pretty impressive. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So a lot of detail. As an example, Cast Magic is a platform I use every day. And then, one of the categories was URL or link-based input. And it said yes for Cast Magic, but it said YouTube, Zoom, or RSS. So that's correct, right? Pretty impressive. And then we have here the ICP comparison, who each product serves, review scores, and user sentiment. Does a great job. Market traction comparison. Looks like one slide went a little bit over, but again, I could, edit that if I needed to. Key takeaways for product strat. This is just really, really good. All right. Again, I one-shotted this without really any effort. This was just an example. And what I got out of here, I'm like, geez, this is actually really good, right? I'm obviously going to go through here, give it some actual information about the product that I'm building. I'm going to go through, look at the some of this information and rerun this. But y'all, by default, I think we have a low-key powerhouse that's free right now, right? I don't know how long this is going to be free. But again, very, very impressive. All right, let's end with this. The 3 reasons why I think everyone should be using Copilot Tasks right now. All right, number 1, it's easier and free, right? It's easier than OpenClaw in Claude Cowork. All right, not Claude Coworker. Got a little autocorrect there. So it's easier than OpenClaw and Claude Cowork, and it's cheaper than both of those. Obviously, OpenClaw is technically free and open source, but if you really want good outputs from OpenClaw, you're going to need to use your API keys, not just free models. Claude Cowork, obviously, you need to have a subscription for. Perplexity Computer is really good, but it's very expensive. So you have a cheaper version of OpenClaw and Claude Cowork, and it's simpler. I don't know how this product exists right now. Right. And it's in beta. So hopefully, as long as Microsoft sticks with it, it's going to get a lot better. All right. So that's reason number one. It is easier and cheaper. Number two, you can text Copilot. Simple, right? Meeting you where you're at. You don't have to learn a new interface, right? Copilot Online, if you haven't used it, it's simple, right? But you can just text it. Simple, right? And I love another thing that I didn't even mention in here. You can log on to different services that you use. So it has its own browser. You can say, go log, right? I did this as an example. I said, go log into, I gave it the login URL for Buzzsprout. That's my podcast, host. It went to the login page. I took it over. I entered my credentials. It's in there, right? Obviously, before you, in any agentic system, right? Only enter your credentials if you have permission to. I'm the business owner. I can do that. I'm not too scared. So yeah, you can literally log into different systems and services that you use all the time and then just text, right? So I can just say, hey, that episode from last week, how many downloads did it get? So I don't have to wait until I get home on my computer. If I'm out taking a walk, I can just text Copilot, just talk in any service that I'm logged into. I can get that information immediately. And then last but not least, it just combines a highly capable agentic large language model with a computer using agent and document creation, right? At least right now, that's kind of like the holy trinity, right? That's the three things people want. They want an extremely capable agentic large language model, number one. They want a computer using agent, number two. And they want to be able to create documents, right? Because it's no good if you just get all this stuff that just lives in a chat box somewhere, right? So it brings all things together. It's in beta. It's very good. Yeah, there's some bugs. There's some things I wish were better. Like I hope eventually, kind of the last mile of this, being able to save or write. I know that Microsoft right now is probably restricting some of that intentionally, right? I'm looking for some workarounds so I don't have to go in and click send on the email, or I don't have to do the one click to save something to OneDrive or something like that. I'm sure I'll be able to figure out some workarounds, but I do hope that there's a secure and out of the box way that you can save some of those scheduled flows. But again, being able to schedule these things, being able to access different websites that you log it into if you do want to go that route. I just think that this is an extremely impressive offering from Microsoft that, again, I don't know why anyone's talking about, but I am. And if it does get better, and if you guys want to know about it, I'll make sure to keep talking about it. But that's a wrap for today. I hope this was helpful. If so, tell someone about it. If you're listening on the podcast, please make sure to subscribe. Yeah, Wednesday shows. You might want to go to our website and watch the video version at youreverydayai.com. But that's it. That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.